All right, let's talk about the news. We got this from Gazette.com. Kathy Hochul kicked out of NYPD officer's wake. Wow. Hochul was not a welcome sight at the wake of fallen officer Jonathan Diller. Hochul reportedly left Friday's reception within 10 minutes after she was greeted by a shout of "Get her out of here." Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's rough.
As she walked back to her car, Hochul was confronted by a man who sources said was speaking to her while gesturing with emotion. Videos of the exchange we shared to social media. In a statement to the Washington Examiner, spokesperson for the governor's office would not confirm or deny the claim that Hochul was asked to leave. Governor Hochul attended the wake today to mourn the loss of Officer Diller. Offer her condolences and hear from his family and loved ones who are dealing with unimaginable grief. Diller, 31, was shot and killed Monday while performing a traffic stop on an illegally parked car. The suspected shooter, Guy Rivera, 34, had been arrested 21 times before the incident, is now facing murder charges. And my understanding is there was no reason for it. The guy was just walking up to the car and they just shot him through the window. Ugh. So I don't understand, and someone's going to have to give me you're going to have to explain this one to me, how Joe Biden raises as much money as he does when everyone hates the guy. I have talked to people who said, I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Who are you voting for this time? Trump.
Yeah.
Young people, old people. Now, I've certainly met, don't get me wrong, Trump derangement syndrome people. We've told those stories. But how is it that I go to D.C.? D.C. is 92% Democrat, and I'm talking to regular people, and they're just like, I'm not voting for that guy. Who's giving him money?
It's got to be corporations, is my guess.
Corporations can't just give money like that. Joe Biden, his campaign has received millions of dollars. A quote-unquote corporation can have like an officer donate a max of a couple $1,000s. That's it.
I think the people that are most likely to support Biden are me and Ian were talking about this just a moment ago before we started. The people that are most likely to support Biden are the people with money and that don't want things to change. Right? If they're making if you're making like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, maybe $1 million a year, you're making enough money where you can throw a lot of money at political. You have a lot of disposable income, right? You're not conspicuously rich, but you're definitely rich, right? And you're going to go to work every day, but you don't want anything to change because you're going to be set for life in 10 years, right? Everything will be fine. You'll have a boatload of money. You don't have to worry about anything. Your kids will be set. And the last thing they want is for things to change. So they just want the status quo. And I think those people are thinking that are the same people that think Donald Trump messed things up. It was a certain way before Trump. Trump came along and messed everything up, and they wanted to go back to the way before Donald Trump. They were hoping that Joe Biden was going to be the way, go back to the way things were. And I think that they're really mad that it's not working, but I still think that they're of the mindset that I'm just going to keep throwing money at essentially the Obama team, because most people know that Joe Biden's entire administration is just the same people that were working there when Barack Obama was the president. So right. I think it's just people that throw money at people that have disposable income and throw as much as they can at those candidates.
Just like the reason why I brought that up is because Kathy Hochul shows up to an officer's wake and they scream at her to get out. Like, Democrat policy is leading to such devastation. You've got women getting punched in the face, officers being killed. Who's supporting this? I mean, Anna Kasparian snapped off on Young Turks about in New York. They refused to hold people found with corpses and blood in their drains. Well, and the cops are like, we can't hold them.
Crime is one of the things right now that's turning a lot of people around for sure. And it feels like on the ground level, like you said, it's the least radioactive time for Trump in the sense of like, you can the temperature is just a little different right now as opposed to while he's president leading up and even before now, where you can kind of openly talk about supporting Trump and get a minimal amount of backlash. So it's interesting. It's the first time that I really feel like he could actually win this year, for sure.
I mean, his polling is, there was no polling like this in the last cycle. In 2020, Biden was ahead the whole time.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, the polls are wrong. They were wrong with Hillary. They're wrong with Biden. And Biden ends up winning. And then, now, we'll see what happens this year.
I mean, this is just a year of awakening, I feel like, in general. Like, people are waking up to the reality of a lot of institutions, the Diddy stuff, the Nickelodeon stuff. That's different than Trump, but people are kind of seeing through the veil of how stuff really works right now. I think there's just more information available to people than ever.
Do you see that? Yeah. There's a meme where it's Kesha waking up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy.
What did she mean by that?
Yeah, what did she mean? And then there's that.
Explain.
Then Muppet looking like left and right, like.
Yeah, do explain, Kesha.
Thing about people waking up, this is the time of like the awakening. We're basically but when you wake up, the first thing you see, that's up to the people in the media. Like we're like, Oh, wait, now you're awake? Look, now you're woke. Now you're awake? Look, now you're enlightened. So like, how are they waking up? What is the first thing they're going to believe in this new rebirth that they're experiencing?
Well, that's the thing. Woke and red pill mean the same thing. It's just different
belief
frameworks.
structures.
Woke is a false reality built on postmodernist lies, and red pilled is you're actually seeing through the BS and breaking the fractured narrative of the corporate press and the establishment.
And when you ask people that claim to be woke, a lot of times they'll say that the red pill people are delusioned and that the woke people have it right. It's the idea that one side has a picture perfect view of reality and the other side is deluded. But in reality, we're probably all a little deluded and hopefully have some value to bring to the table.
I actually think it's a fair assessment that I would say in the quote unquote red pill, which I wouldn't actually want to use the red pill, but I would say, because we don't really use those terms anymore.
It's different now, too.
In the anti-establishment faction, it's 80% factual, and then in the woke side, it's 80% delusion.
Like
I'd
based
agree
on
with
your
that,
emotions.
Yeah. And I feel like also wokeness, though, has dominated culture for so long now. Like even during the entire Trump presidency, it's like that was still the dominant sort of ideology going on in the media, social media, et cetera. And now I feel like it's been long enough, people can kind of see for themselves, like, it's actually not working. All these ideas we had about race and gender and how the world really works and if Trump was really Hitler or not, it's like they can kind of see that it's not the case, and people are seeing also a lot of really crazy stuff happening under Biden. There's really no excuse anymore to blame it on Trump. So.
These people thought voting for Joe Biden would bring them back to 2010 or something.
And it didn't.
It just made everything worse.
No, they thought that Donald Trump, you're right, they did think that it was going to bring him back before Donald Trump, but they thought that Donald Trump was the cause. And for the past almost decade, I've been saying Donald Trump is a symptom of what is going on in society. Donald Trump has caused nothing. Donald Trump is the cause of absolutely zero of our problems. He is a result and a symptom. And as long as people don't understand that, they're going to keep behaving as if Donald Trump is the problem and keep voting for the things that they were voting for before Donald Trump, which are the exact same things that gave us Donald Trump.
I think that's
I agree.
Quite astute. And I think also Biden's not the cause of the problems and he's not the savior. Trump's not. Like this progress into the, I don't know what you call it, the devolvement of the United States government into this global corporatization where they're just siphoning off our wealth. That wasn't a Donald Trump. That was going to happen. This plan's been going on since the 1990s at least, when George Bush Sr. brought up the New World Order for one of the first times on TV. They've been planning this for quite a long time.
You understand, Joe Biden was a part of the uniparty establishment machine for 50 years during that time period. He was actively involved in it.
Yeah, he was.
So I think it's fair to say, as an individual, Biden isn't the cause of what's going on right now. As a component of the machine, he is.
Yeah, he's a big
I agree
political
with that.
figurehead making a lot of money off of it.
And we kind of all see a little bit of this on a much smaller scale. Obviously, all of us sitting here are some level of public figure. And when you're a public figure that to a large extent, you kind of just mirror back whatever people want to see in you. So I agree with what Phil was saying. Trump was really just a symptom. It was unveiling everything that was kind of sick and wrong with the culture and how the country was being ran, not necessarily him doing a bunch of stuff. Because you can also see how he didn't have all that much power during 2020.
The people.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, I do think it's true for the most part that public figures reflect back what people want to see in them. But do you mean by that, like, no matter what you do, people will choose like how they think of you? Is that what you mean?
To an extent, yeah. And they can make you out to be whatever they
Right.
want you to be,
Like
and
they'll highlight only certain things from Trump. Like, here's the Trump timeline. They select
bloodbath.
They select these pieces, put them together, and say, look how bad Trump is.
Yeah, and it works less and less now. Like the bloodbath thing recently was a really good example.
It's a great
I didn't
point.
see many people genuinely falling for it. And anyone I did see falling for it, their comment section was lit up with people of all over the political spectrum saying, actually, that's ridiculous to paint it that way. And so that's a good sign, because you think back to before, every person believed that he made fun of the mentally handicapped reporter. Every person believed he said all these things about, Latinos and Black people that just were either not true or taken out of context. It's not as easy to do anymore.
We got a super chat. Mad Max said Trump is not a symptom of the problem. He's the response to the problem. I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
For a long time, I said he was a symptom of it. I think response to it is a better way to frame it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm comfortable with that framing as well. Essentially, like, look, the people on the left and your average Democrat need to understand that MAGA people are the Tea Party. right? Like the Tea Party came in response to what essentially was, the overreach, what they felt was the overreach of the federal government, and a response to the bailouts of the banks, right? So there was the left response, which was Occupy Wall Street and stuff, and that got eaten up by the whole intersectional stuff. And you had the Tea Party, which was the response to like the bailouts in response to the ACA. And they essentially were like, these are the things that we want and these are the things we're upset about. And all they got from the Democrats was, oh, they're the racists, they're clinging to their guns and their God and blah, 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 and all of the negative stereotypes. And so they were like, well, we wanted Mitt Romney, who was literally the most Boy Scout you can get, right? As milquetoast as you could possibly come up with. They still called him a Nazi. They still said he was a rapist. They still said he was all these terrible things. And then they're like, well, then Donald Trump shows up. And Donald Trump's just like a endless line of middle fingers. And they're like, that's my guy. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So the idea that Donald Trump caused any of this is absolutely detached from reality and ridiculous. Yeah, but the average person doesn't realize it because CNN will never tell them that, will never explain it in that timeline in a way that they'll understand.
I think it is apparent that he's more either a result of this problem of society or is a symptom or however you want to respond to it. Because like he didn't even want to be in politics in the beginning. Like why would he? His kids didn't want it. They were like, dude, Don Jr.'s like, dude, I had to go to the best parties. Everyone loved me. Now I'm in politics. It's everywhere I go. It's like polarized. It's crazy. And so Don Senior felt compelled to run. He was like, if things get so bad, I will run. And that's because it's a symptom of the society getting so bad, of this sellout of our government.
Trump said that a long time ago. It was like the late 80s or whatever. Like, would you ever run for president? I think Oprah asked him or something. And he was like, if it got really bad and I had to do it. But imagine being Don Jr. and like you were just pointing out, you show up to any party and everyone's like, yeah, and they're cheering. You show up to a party you weren't invited to. Oh, everyone's cheering. Then your dad runs for president and now they hate your guts and they want to put you in prison. They want to steal all your money. And you're just his kid? That's crazy. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.